Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Ithaqusbane bringing you gaming goodness, and we are back in the world of Loom by Shieldice Studios. Yes, a while back I did feature an adventure game, a text-based adventure game called Loom, Portent of the Veil. Sort of part game book, part Mad Lib, part adventure game, part RPG, part, but all good fun. Well, Jay from Shieldice Studio was very kind enough to send me the new one. We got another one. Loom, Bells of Basin City. A new text-based adventure game. Let's have a look, create our character, and have a quick playthrough. Hi guys, and yes, we are back in the land of Loom, Bells of Basin City. And in a lot of respects, it follows the same formula as the first text-based adventure game for Loom, Portent of the Veil, which I did a number of videos for previously. You can find them up in the link in the top right corner there. But yeah, the basic mechanics of this game will be very familiar. However, there are a number of differences that really do make this an interesting new game to play. Not just a retheme or reskin of the same generic sort of, well, not generic, the same sort of mechanics as before. But like I say, there are some things which are the same. It's using the same sort of game engine, but the way that it works and the results and the sort of supporting mechanics to the game, very, very different. Now, to begin with, in Loom, Bells of Basin City, you are actually playing a different character in a different location on a very different mission. With the first one, Portent of the Veil, you are playing as a trail guard, like a heroic ranger knight who protects the veil. Let's get around that. Okay, the veil is down at the bottom left of the screen there. This time we're actually over the other side at Basin City. Let's get this back up. There we go. So yeah, Portent of the Veil, you were a trail guard. You had to travel from one monastery to another monastery, trying to survive and trying to gather the story about the, I forget what it was called, but like a music. This time, you are playing as a Defacer, which is a renegade, revolutionary, graffiti magician. Kind of a weird way of explaining it, but you're basically playing as somebody who can manipulate colors as like magic, and you're trying to create disruption in the Empress's domain to try and bring back the old order kind of thing, and you're spreading the message by scrawling all over the city. Especially the rooftops, which is the location that we're playing this game. We're not travelling across a vale through the countryside. Oh no! In this game, we are actually going across the rooftops, trying to find our way to the, I think it's the cathedral. Let me just double check. Bump. See, I'm well prepared. Here we go. You're trying to get from your hideout to the Cathedral of the Pallid Paupers. So it's a rooftop battle, not a countryside battle. And because of that, like I say, the essence of the game engine is the same, but the commands that you have at your disposal, even your character design, your character sheet, the character design, even the elements of your character are actually going to be very different from what we had before. So it's going to be very familiar and yet very different at the same time. It's a very interesting direction that this series seems to be taking. Also, in terms of the color, we're taking a different direction in terms of color. Where were we? Bonk, bonk. At the moment, Jay from Shieldice seems to be going through a pink or purple Phase, I think one of the other products that he's released recently, also is like black, white, and purple. Previously, with Portent the Veil, it was very green in nature. And I think these are colours that I think he also brought into the settings book, which again, I have covered on the channel. A system neutral setting that you can use in any sort of game. And if I remember correctly, when the settings book was discussing about the Veil, about the adventures, the characters, again, I think it had that green element, but when it went to Basin City, I'm thinking that it had this pinkish purple element. So there is some consistency in this choice of colour, but yes, this is very purpley, very pinky purple, very lilac. Right, let's take a look. Now in this video, we're going to be having a quick look through the rules. I will also create my character. Advanced warning, early warning, there will be a lot of spoilers in this video and also in the next video where we'll do some gameplay. So just be aware of that. I'm just going to try and spoil as little as I can, but when you're creating the character, there is a lot of narrative for you to read, a lot of story to generate your character from. And then the game itself is very much story driven. You'll be randomly generating scenes or locations or acts, and as you read through those, there'll be some keywords, and it's a very much like an interactive story. And the aesthetic of the design again is very much like the old text-based adventures from yonder year. Yeah, games like Zork and The Hobbit and what was the other one? AI Dungeon, I think, is a more modern version. I used to love those games. But anyway, let's have a look. Now, in terms of the contents, you're looking at a book which is around 52 pages. There are some pages that I didn't print in my physical copy because as we're playing the game, I will be using the physical one. Obviously, I didn't print all the pages where the sort of ink was in high demand, like page 2. Let's just quickly switch this to there. So I don't know why he did this, but page 2 is pink, and also near the end, the inner cover kind of thing is also just completely pink. So of course I didn't print those pages. But you got some art within. You got, again, it looks very similar to Portent of the Veil. But as I say, the game itself feels the same, except it also feels very different. Doesn't make sense, but trust me, when we start playing through the game, you'll understand. Now, I'm not going to explain everything here. Yeah, you're going to probably pick up most of it as we do the gameplay, but I'll sort of highlight a couple of the major points, just to give you a kind of intro to what the game is. So, let's read the introduction, shall we? Like we did last time, I think. Oh, that's the point. Yes, if you want to see the game in more detail, you can always go back and watch the other videos that I did, and then carry on with this one. Right, LOOM is a solo text-based adventure game. Actually, if I can highlight this, hang on. There we go. Using a map and character sheet alongside procedurally generated paragraphs, you will explore a dark and twisted world of fantastical horror. Weave your own story as you play, find rare items, uncover hidden secrets, and use your command list to interact with the world. With nothing more than playing cards, dice, and a pencil, you will generate and play through the story of a corrupt city, of magic, and of rebellion. Right, your goal is to slay the Empress and undertake a rooftop journey from your hideout to the Cathedral of the Pallid Paupers. On this journey you must aid in the uprising, defend your kin, assassinate targets, and leave behind your magical scrolls. Graffiti, Banksy! Yeah, I mean, in terms of the map, I think there's a map here. So this is a very, very, very basic sort of pixelated map of Basin City. Your hideout's near the bottom. You've basically got to make your way to the entrance to where the Empress sort of hangs out and go in here and take her down. But there are a lot of different endings, and it's going to be very hard for you to get the good ones. Just a warning. We did actually see that in the previous game, the Portent of the Veils. I think in that game there were 30 different endings. I didn't do very well at all in the gameplay. But yeah, so it's a very different setting in terms of what we're going to be doing. And the character that we're going to be playing is also very different. You'll see that when we look at the character sheet in a second. So what are you going to need? You are going to need a deck of playing cards, including the 2 jokers. And you're also going to need 3 6-sided dice. One of them is going to be used on, boink, on your character sheet. On the left side of your character sheet you have this map, and you'll be placing and using the die on the map, on the grid, to show your current position. Oh, that's the wrong one. The other 2 6-sided dice, or D6, they're going to be used for all of your commands and your actions, and for generating the keywords for the scenes. Right, game setup, we've got to do our name. Okay, we'll come to that in a minute, but I want to highlight the differences between this and Portent of the Veil. So when we come to command lists, now the commands are like the actions that you can do on each scene. Sometimes you will be forced to do certain actions or commands. If there is a foe or an enemy in that location, you have to deal with them first by either evading or attacking. But there are other commands that you can choose from. Just like with Portent of the Veil, you've got to try to do at least 2 commands or 2 actions per location. And if you don't have 2 that you must interact with, then you can do other things like is it running the rooftops? Rooftop run, yeah. The commands, there are a couple which are the same as the last game, but there are some different ones. Now, one thing that has been changed here is that you will be getting more command points to put on your different commands. When I did the previous videos, one of the comments that came back was you're always going to be at a disadvantage because the number of command points that we get at the start isn't enough to really sort of give us a good chance against what the game's going to be throwing at us. So for this game, what Jay has done is that we're actually going to be getting more points to put as bonuses or sort of modifiers for these command lists. A lot more points, trust me. And it makes a big difference. A maximum of 3 points can be added to a single command when you do that. Now that's all done during character generation or character creation, which we'll do a bit later. There's also this new thing called skill commands. And this is on the second page, down the bottom, at the bottom right. Now these skill commands are special. You can only do these after you do a successful assassination or you successfully scrawl in terms of doing some graffiti. Normally you will be prompted when these things come along as to when you can do them, but if you are successful, you can then, if you want, do one of these skill commands. And for a cost, they can give you certain benefits if you succeed. What else? Again, a lot of these things you'll see how they work and what they are as we play through. Begin the game, adding affinities. Yeah, we'll come to that in a second. Alright, movement, yeah. So movement is exactly the same as it was in the first game. You will be using your D6, one of your D6s, to actually move yourself, and it represents your location. So you're moving yourself over the map. Every square that you move, you're reducing the number on the die. So it goes from 6 to 5. You move another square, it goes down to 4. You move another square, it goes down to 3. Exactly the same as last time. However, when you get to 1 on the die, in Portent of the Veil, you had to camp, and you had to go through that flow chart to see what happens during the night as you camp. Well, here it's different. You don't have to camp when you get down to 1 on your die. You meet the Hammer. The Hammer of Lutherin, which is actually one of the characters that was featured in the settings book. And when you get down to 1 on the die, it basically means that he's found you. And you then have to try and escape, again by following a flow chart and finding out what happens. You'll also notice that on the map there are some other symbols compared to the other game. Let me bring it up. Okay. So on the left you have the map from Portent of the Veil. You had mountains that you couldn't move through. You had these eyes where you could get portents. And you also had these like torches where if you collected all 4, you completed a quest. Now, quests, excuse me, squeaky chair. Quests were a way in the first game to get a benefit or to get some kind of bonus item in case you died. Now, if you look to the right here, this is the map from Bells of Basin City. And you got different symbols. Instead of mountains that you can't cross, you've got these sort of towers, which are the domain of magic users who put these like spells of warding. So you can't cross them. Basically, it means you can't cross these squares here. You also have these squares which have scrolls, and these are locations where you can do that create scroll thing, and then the potential to do a skill command. And then instead of the torches, you have these 4 symbols here in these corners, and these are the locations where you can do an assassination. Now, doing scrolls and doing assassinations can give you some pretty good benefits for the game, so they're well worth considering in terms of moving and trying to do assassinations, moving to the scroll locations, because again, with Portent of the Veil, collecting the portent, collecting the torches did actually give you benefits in terms of your character, and it's the same thing here. Another thing is that in the top right corner, we used to have the challenge modifier, the poison, and the craven points, sort of places to note down those values. In this time, you have only 2. You've got the challenge modifier, which in this game, in Bells, you can only have a maximum of 3. So your challenge modifier will never be higher than 3, which is good. Also, here at the bottom, well, at top right, but under this bell thing, you've got this little potion bottle, and this is actually an item that you can create to help you or to give you a bonus when you're doing assassinations. So in this new game, there are no craven points, there is no poison, there are other mechanics that can screw you up, there are other mechanics that you're going to have to keep note of, but in terms of the map, it's not there. Now, you'll also notice in the corners here of the new map, you have these bells with a white circle. This is to notify when bells are rung, when you've been spotted, or when your graffiti has been spotted by the watch or by the hammer. And this is an indicator of when you get caught, or when your time runs out. Depending on the difficulty, you get captured when either 4 or 5 bells have been rung. And this is just where you keep note of how many bells are rung. Now, as you're generating the scenes, sometimes it will tell you, and sometimes the results of failing a command check, it will tell you bell, in which case you will highlight or mark one of these bells. Right, that's that. What else? Let's get rid of that for the moment. Go back to here. Generating a scene. Okay, this is the same mechanic as last time. You're going to have a deck of playing cards, including the 2 jokers. What you're going to do is draw a random card to, whenever you move into a new grid square, you're going to draw a card and create the scene. And then what you'll be doing is you'll be using the... I didn't put it up. Okay. The scenes are... Come on, here. So again, it's like the old game. You'll draw a card. If you get the 2 of clubs, this is going to be your scene. It's a narrative element, a story element with some keywords missing, and these words you will be rolling up on the here word input tables. So you've got clubs, hearts, spades, and diamonds. So depending on which card you draw for the location and the scene, that will tell you which of those sets of tables to roll the key words. And the key words also have labels. We've got here A, B, C, and F. So what you will do to generate those words, again, it's exactly the same as Portent of the Veils. It's clubs on it. So you'll roll on A, 2d6 to get the word, the keyword for that one, B, C, D, E, and F. Each of these words also has a number next to it. This is the challenge rating, and at the end of the scene, you'll add up all of those challenge ratings to get the total challenge rating, and that will be your target to do any commands in that area. Another thing is that some of these sort of word types will have this symbol of a fist. This means interactive elements. It means that there is a specific command to interact with those things. So if we look at here, we've got foe, you've got that interactive thing there, because there are commands where you can interact with your foe, either attack or avoid. The other one there, I think, was the, hang on, let's go back to here. The other one for clubs is viewpoint. There is that fist there. So viewpoint is also interactive. So we go to our commands. And there is a command at the top here, traverse, climb, viewpoint. Now in this game, there is only one compulsory element, and that is foes or enemies. In Portent of the Veil, we had to fight foes first. And then I think we had to explore buildings and interact with NPCs. But you're not forced to interact or pickpocket. Yeah, see here you got approach and interact, and you got pickpocket. But you're not being forced to do those ones if you don't want to. The only one you're being forced to do in this game is when you have a foe. If we look down at hearts, you have a different set of tables here to roll on. A is description, B is below, C is entrance, D is foe, E is behavior, and F is NPC. So yeah, that's how you generate the scenes. Every time you move on the map, you'll generate one of these locations. Let's go back up to where we were. Generating a scene, yeah. Again, you'll see all this as we play through the game. Command list, interact, yep, I just explained that. When possible, at least 2 commands from the command list must be selected before you can move to another area. Yeah, 2 commands whenever possible, yeah. If there's nothing that's interactive, like a foe or an NPC, then you can do a rooftop run, yeah, to make up the second one. Foes must be dealt with before any other command, and that's the only one. However, there is another command called watch and wait. You can always do that first before any other command, but with that one there is a cost. Let me find it for you. Watch and wait. Basically, by watching and waiting before you do anything, you're going to get a -1 to the challenge, to your challenge modifier on your character sheet. Yeah, so you're going to get a -1 to your challenge modifier. If it's currently at 0, it doesn't have an effect. You can't get minuses in this. But also, let's go back to there, you're going to get a -2 warmth, which is, again, something that we'll explain a little bit later. There's a cost for this. It can give you a bonus, but there is a cost. What else? A command that overrides all of these rules is flee area, which can be used at any time without a roll to basically bypass a scene, but again, comes with a cost. Successes or failures. Yeah, when you do those command checks, you're going to be rolling a 2d6 to see whether you pass. You need to get equal or greater than the total challenge modifier plus any challenge modifiers that you may have. If you do get equal or higher, then you succeed, and you have to roll to see what happens when you succeed. If you see here, approach NPC, you've got a roll for when you succeed, and then there's a roll for when you fail. So after you succeed or fail that command check, you're going to be rolling again to see what happens, whether it's a success or whether it's a failure. What else? Challenge modifiers we've gone over. Brew potion or poisons. Yes, you can, if I showed you just now, at the top here, at the top of your map, you've got this place where you can put up to 4 different potions. These are called Fetor Husk poison bottles. You can use these, and I think they give you a +3 to your assassination checks. But you need 2 items to make those. You need pus bulb and shroom husk, which you can find on your journey. Combat, there's nothing special about the combat. It's simply a command check. Be aware that even if you fail your command check when you attack or in combat, doesn't necessarily mean that you fail the combat. It's just that something bad happens from there. You may overcome your foe, but you may have been hurt. You may lose something. You may be spotted, kind of thing. Yeah. It says here, look. You may still vanquish your foe even when failing in combat, but you will gain a negative consequence. Another thing, when you come across the foes... Come on. When you come across your foes, sometimes you will get... Actually, always. You'll get one of these letters next to it. Actually, sometimes some of them don't have. But this reflects the affinity that they are aligned with. When you create your character, you have to select an affinity. O, N, or E. Up here, affinity on your character sheet. And different foes will have a different affinity. Now, if your affinity matches what the foe is, you're going to get a +2 to your attack. And the affinities are... N is natural world, it's over here, look. O is old regime, or E is ember light. So if you do come across an enemy which has the same affinity as you, you're getting a +2 to your combat roll. In Portent of the Veil, it was similar in the fact of your weapons damage, whether you were doing, I think it was slashing, blunt or ranged. And then you checked your enemy, your foe, to see whether they had a weakness against one of those, and if it was the same as your weapon, you got a bonus that way. So again, very, very similar in that aspect. Alarm bells, we've already mentioned. Captured, yes. When all the bells have been rung a number of times as to your difficulty, like I say, some difficulties, the bells will ring after 4, sometimes after 5, but you're going to be captured, and there is a certain page where you need to go to actually find out what happens when you get captured. Can die. The towers, again, we've talked about those. Okay, the Pagan's Key, or the lockpick. When you generate a scene which has an entrance keyword, see if we can find one. Entrance here. So, like for example, spades. If you have to roll for a spades scene, and it has a B, then it's going to be a type of entrance. And again, you'll notice that some of these have these little symbols next to it, S, G, or B. Let's go back to the thing. Yeah, you can use your Pagan's Key to pick the lock. And your Pagan's Key is over here on your character sheet. S, G, C, and B. So there's 4 types of lock. Your key can transform. It's that's like a magical dagger kind of thing, and it can transform or morph into a type of key to open those locks. However, you can only open 3 of each type of lock. There are ways for you to get back uses, but there are also ways for you to lose extra uses of your key to open entrances. What else? Scrolls, the colorant. Yes, when you go to a scroll location, which are these pink locations on the map, you can attempt to do a scroll. There is a sequence for that, a scene for that. Warmth. You're going to be on the rooftops. It's quite a high city in terms of the mountains, so you've got to keep track of your warmth. You can get things to give you warmth. You can find things to take away warmth, plus W or minus W. Now, your level of warmth can help or hinder you. If it's negative, it's going to have a detrimental effect on things such as when you're captured. But positive warmth can actually be used to either get back your Pagan's key points, or your ability to unlock certain things. You can get one of those points back, or you can use a positive warmth to get a +1 to a roll, like consumables. But be careful, because negative warmth is going to hurt you when you get caught. City influence. Yeah, this is another part of your character sheet. The character sheet looks a little bit different. Here we go. So this is the old character sheet for the Portent of the Veils. You had quests, you had health and armor and hit locations. This time there's no quests, but you have your Pagan's key here. You have your colorant. Again, you've got limited number of uses of each type of colorant. You've got your warmth, and then at the bottom you've got your city influence. So the inventory is the same, the top part's essentially the same, but different words are used. But yeah, the where were we? City influence. Yeah, so this is something that's going to affect your ending, whether you get the best ending or the worst ending. This is going to be something that you're going to be comparing at the end of the game to see how well you've done. Items is the same as the last game. Affinity. Okay, Celestial Boon. So it gives you Celestial Boon gives you a bonus when you have a sky keyword rolled up, because there are sometimes words there that can set it off. Witch's Ternary, Chroma Nebula, or Ember Sphere. If that comes up instead of a random word or as the random word, it gives you a bonus to that scene completely. Wanted for, yeah, again, when you create your character, you've got to select what was your crime, what are you wanted for, why are the authorities after you, as well as being a defacer. And if you draw a Joker card, you have to go to a special page where you have to determine, what happens, because maybe the authorities find you. On an ace, you get caught or you get confronted by a witchfinder. Again, there is a special page for this. Hammer of Lutheran we've already covered. When your movement die moves down to 1, you have to encounter the Hammer of Lutheran. Legacy items, these are things that you can find when you die to try and get a bonus for your next game. Assassinations and endings and epilogue, yeah. Last part in terms of the rules is how to play in terms of the difficulties. Now, at the beginning here, it says... here it is. Once you've read the rules, choose one of 2 difficulty settings for your game run. Well, actually, there's 3, not 2. Novice, normal or hard, pagan, witch or defacer. If you choose the novice setting, you're captured on a 5th bell. You get 12 points to give yourself on the command lists. Items only use a single inventory slot, so for example like torch times 2 is 1 slot. And you begin the run with an additional item, an ember shard, which is very useful. If you want to start at normal difficulty, you get captured on the 4th bell. You get 10 points for your commands, and you get items can be used on the same inventory slot, but you don't get that additional item. And if you decide to go for the hard level, you're captured on the 4th bell again, but you're only getting 8 points across your commands. Items are the same type, only use the same inventory slot, so that seems to be common. Begin run with no mission loadout. Yeah, you will. Normally you're going to be starting with 1 or 2 starting items. If you choose to do it on the hard level, you're not getting it. You're not getting anything to start with. You've got a set of visual aids to help you understand what's going on. Again, we'll see all this as we play through. You get the command lists, you get the word input tables, and then you get your beginnings. And when you start the game, at least especially for the first time, I suppose it would be optional after that, you get some story to read, which as you're reading the story, it's telling you to make decisions, and that's how you actually create your character. We'll do this after this. And then you've got all the scenes for all the cards, 10s, jacks, queens, kings. Aces are where you get the witch finders or the witch hunters, so again they have special scenes for those. The Joker, again, this is when you get found out for your wanted, again you get special things for those. Captured, some pages for when you get captured. Now when you get captured, you have to use the suit of the card for the location that you're in when you get captured. Again, just follow the instructions. It's very easy to follow. And then at the end here, we have the endings and the epilogues. To find out what ending you get, you look at what you are wanted for, you look at your city influence at the end of the game, and then you find out which of the endings you get. There are some special cases where you get special endings, but I'm not going to talk about those. Got to leave some secrets. You've got items and legacy items. You've got the hammer flowchart here, which you need to roll. Summon, when you want to summon a scroll or do your graffiti. Again, this is what you're going to be rolling on. Assassinate target. Again, you've got it all here. And then you've got your cheat sheets. The cheat sheets are used if you don't want to write in the actual book itself. On those scene descriptions, they have spaces for you to write the words, but if you don't want to do that, you can just use a cheat sheet and write the words here. This is what we did in the first game. And then after that, you got the end of the book. There's a lot of elements to this game. I didn't explain all of them because I want to show you a lot of them as we're playing. So what we'll do now is we will create our character, and to create our character we're going to go back to the table and we're going to be using the physical book. See you soon.